In today's rapidly evolving financial landscape, digital payment platforms have become the backbone of Nigeria's cashless economy. From mobile transfers and online banking to fintech innovations, driving everyday transactions. Yet, as convenience grows, so do the risk on cyber attacks, fraud, identity theft, and regulatory loopholes threaten the very trust that sustains this digital ecosystem. On Nigeria Today, we take a closer look at how secure our digital payment systems really are. How safe is your money online? What roles do regulators, service providers, and users play in ensuring protection? What must be done to strengthen Nigeria's digital financial infrastructure for the future? Now, this and more will form part of our conversation on the program, and we'll be looking at, quite a lot around, cybersecurity and all of that. Thanks for tuning in on Nigeria Today. I am Ikaria Clinton. Now, with me in the studio for this, to discuss safeguarding digital payment platforms in Nigeria is Farouk Abdullahi. He's a financial analyst and the chairman, Ultimate Spectrum Limited. It's a pleasure to have you on Nigeria Today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Also with us on the program is Yomo Rotimi Williams. He's the head of cybersecurity, Unicorn Group of Companies. We're glad to have you on Nigeria Today.
It's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much.
Now, I'll start with you, Farouk. How would you, I know we've talked so much about the digital payment ecosystem, before the program. So how would you assess the current state of Nigeria's digital payment ecosystem in terms of safety and reliability for users?
Thank you for this question. You see, at the heart of financial transaction and given the evolving pace at which the world is growing, Nigeria today has picked up to be amongst the top players in terms of the adoption of fintech technology, especially now that the ISA Act is being signed by I think it's in 2024, 2025, which allows now the use of cryptocurrencies in the country. Before now, it repeals the Piraeus Act in 2007, which disallowed the use of cryptocurrency, and I feel it's at the heart of also digital transactions and all other payment gateway transactions. For example, if you look at the POS transactions also, the numbers keeps growing. It has ensured that the market penetration in it today is growing astronomically. Let's look at, for instance, the cryptocurrencies. Statistics has shown that 1/3 of Nigerians today utilizes cryptocurrencies as their mode of digital platform transactions, which represents around 16.88% penetration, in Nigeria by 2024. That's the projection that was made. While in 2026, it is projected that it would grow by 3.42% or thereabout, which is projected to grow at 11.88%. So by this, it simply shows that this topic is very at the right time to discuss about it, because it's something that concerns Nigeria, it concerns our economy, it concerns businesses, investments, and perhaps it concerns also our transactions within the global ecosystem, within the global financial system. So in terms of the revenue that is projected that this cryptocurrencies transaction will generate to the government, for 2025 it is projected to be at $2.4 billion, while for 2026 it is projected to grow at around $2.5 billion. So you see, this makes the topic very phenomenal to discuss, and I feel at the heart of everything, it's good that we enhance the digital payment systems, digital payment platforms. We have seen some of the things that the ISA Act 2025 comes with. If implemented and enforced fully, I think it would go a long way in ensuring that the whole digital payment system is not only optimized, but also in terms of penetration it would grow, in terms of efficiency it would also grow, and in terms of consumer protection I think it would also be assured. So at the heart of it, it instills confidence in the global, financial landscape.
Thank you very much, Farouk, for that opening, for giving us those analysis there. Now, Yomo, talk to us. You are into cybersecurity here. Of course, over the years, we've had, regulatory bodies like the CBN, they've been, are they, will I say at the top of their game here in terms of trying to, see how we can, checkmate all of these, like talking about the fraud that we see, online fraud and all of that. Now, tell us, what are the major or the biggest risk online users, like people making payments online, what are the biggest risks they face? What are the biggest vulnerabilities?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think one of the things we have to look at in this case is the fact that there's what we call supply chain vulnerability. It is like a third-party vulnerability. And it is one of the biggest vulnerability most of these platforms are facing. Aside that, we have the improper or the poor KYCs. You say certain persons want to carry out transactions online, and the platform is enforcing them to do KYC. But at the same time, what is the platform doing to verify these KYCs? KYC, by KYC we mean know your customers, right? Someone will upload a proof of address. Are they going to check if this person is actually staying in this location? For instance, certain persons can come to you and say, I need your, let's say for instance, electricity bill, your water bill, to prove that I stay in this place. And at the end of the day, you provide that person your electricity bill. The person uses that for proof of address. What are this body doing to go verify if you actually stay in these places? At the same time, you look at, we mentioned earlier that, let's go back to statistic. Majority of the cyber crimes we see today, or cyber fraud, online fraud, result from what we call phishing. And it amounts to about 90% according to CrowdStrike data, that 90% of cyber fraud is as a result of phishing attack. Majority of these things come down to play when it comes to what we are saying today. There are major vulnerabilities, which is the phishing, the supply chain vulnerabilities, the know your customers, the proper lack of proper KYC that we have mentioned. Again, let's mention one thing that people fail to do when it comes to use of these technologies and these platforms. Many persons using this technology, they fail to update their softwares. It is very basic, but again, you are using an outdated operating system. Some of these technologies, we don't build them. We import them or we adopt them. After adopting them, the users, the manufacturers of this technology, at some point have discovered that there is a loophole. Let's fix or let's patch these loopholes. They patch the loopholes, they roll it out there for us. And you see certain users said, I don't have enough data to update this software I'm using to carry out online transactions. For instance, your mobile banking platform, your internet banking platforms, and the likes. Even down to point-of-sale terminal devices. They don't even update it. So except those ones that if without the updates you cannot use, you hardly find people start updating these things on their own. And they have seen that, okay, there are loopholes in these things. Okay, let's see how we can patch all of it. And after patching it, they roll it out there. We as users, what are we doing? The users also have a role to play by updating their software, because by so doing, malware, without doing that, malware can spread across these devices. So let's not forget, we have mentioned supply chain vulnerabilities, improper KYC, phishing. We also mentioned the failure to update these softwares. Thank you very much.
Oh, Farouk, now let's. There's this experience I had once, and it got me thinking. I went to, it's about the point of sale. I went to get something. After paying, the person I bought the stuff from, after using my card, they debited me, but he or she did not get credited. At the end of the day, I was debited. They said, go back to your bank. I went to the bank. Bank said, the money has left your account. So the money has left my account, quite right? And eventually, the person I'm supposed to pay to did not get the money. The money just, till date, that money did not, get, I wouldn't say it got to the person said he didn't get it. The bank said it has left your account. And we're just going to and fro, So with these kinds of situation, now the House of Reps said, okay, they've set up a committee to see that how we can safeguard our digital payment platforms to ensure that Nigerians don't get defrauded and all of that, talking about POS. So how effective can we achieve this? Can we stop these kinds of things from happening to Nigerians?
Absolutely, yes. If the right thing is done by the right actors, why not? If you look at the entire process that is involved in, the operationalization of these payment technologies, at the heart of it, there are global standards, and from the local aspect, there are also regulations, that guides, the operationalization of it and that checkmates all of these things. For instance, this new Act 2025, it comes with it that there should be a full migration to ISO 20022. By that, it simply says that we are fully complying by the global standards in terms of this messaging of virtual transactions and all of that. It ensures that all these errors are being mitigated, because once we are able to adhere to that, it tries to checkmate and ensure that there is efficiency in the processes and all of that. And you see, if we have, full coordination by all the, regulatory agencies, for example, now, Security and Exchange Commission is saddled with responsibility of licensing and, delicensing and whatnot. And before the actors could register or could have the license, they would have to fulfill such righteousness, which is aimed at ensuring that there is efficiency in the system, efficiency in the process. And there should also be, proper coordination between most of the regulatory and enforcement agencies, ranging from SEC, the Central Bank of Nigeria. For instance, now the Bank of Nigeria is trying to implement the geo-mapping or systems, whereby each point of terminal sales device will be tagged at a specific location, which shouldn't be 10 meters away from the registered address. So this would ensure that, these devices, these transactions can be located in real time where these transactions happens, and how it took place and all of that. And also, if you look at also the area of regulation in terms of fully complying with anti-money laundering and as well other cybersecurity policies, more like the KYC, know your customers. I think this kind of things should not only, be communicated, but it should be enforced. How many of these operators are enforcing to KYCs and AML, regulations and standards? So if all of these things are summed up, I think it would mitigate most of, the issues or the challenges that is linked to, these digital transactions of a thing, that is the POS and cryptocurrencies, to be more specific.
Thank you very much, Farouk. We're going to take a short break now. The conversation will continue shortly. Please stay with us.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow under digital economy for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different? We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that our questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today. We're looking at safeguarding digital payment platforms in Nigeria, and I have two gentlemen here in the studio with me to talk about this issue. Now, Yomo, of course, Farouk has told us quite, some of the issues we have on ground when we talk about facing some, talking about fraud generally. When, But I also want you to tell us more about, you've told us what most of these platforms don't do, or most of the organizations don't do. But tell us what should be done to ensure that fraud generally, even if it doesn't stop entirely, but it reduced to the barest minimum, because that's what we're talking about, safeguarding digital payment platforms, so that everybody can confidently and be sure that, okay, my money is safe, whatever I'm doing online.
Okay, I think one of the things that can be done is, whenever these payment platforms are being built, there's what we call the VAPT, that's vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Proper vulnerability assessment and penetration testing should be carried out on all of these platforms. Every of the modules, if you're using the third-party modules, like I mentioned earlier, like the supply chain vulnerability, for instance.
If you're talking about these modules and these third-party, you just break it down and give us some instances.
Now, for instance, there is a module that handles, let's say, collection of card details. Now, the proper validation for these card details that are being collected, are they being handled? If, for instance, you're building a platform that requires me to enter my 16-digit card number, my CVV, my card PIN, and I'll be sent an OTP, and I have to enter this OTP on this platform. How are you encrypting this information? Just so an attacker out there that is listening, that has the technology or the skill set to listen to this conversation behind the scene, where I am not seeing. How are you handling this in such a way that this attacker will not see my card number? It boils down to compliance, the PCI DSS compliance. These are regulatory compliance. But again, if you are testing all of these things, you ensure that all of these modules are properly encrypted, just so this information that are collected are not seen by the person listening to these conversations as it's happening in real time. So you cannot harvest my card details. So you carry out what we call the vulnerability assessment and penetration test on every of the modules that there is to carry out a successful transaction from start to finish. At the same time, you carry out the risk assessment on your platforms. When we are carrying out risk assessment on these platforms, what are the risks associated with the platforms? What are the ones you can there's what we call risk mitigation, risk acceptance, risk transfer. What are the ones? How are you going to carry out all of this risk assessment? Are you going to transfer some of this risk? Are you going to handle some of this risk? So it still boils down to these platforms. Are this coming down to transactions now? Transactions need to be time-stamped on all of these platforms, because every transaction has a unique transaction ID. It should be time-stamped. As a matter of fact, there should even be location to all of it. If, for instance, you carried out transaction and the person is saying, I did not initiate this transaction, let's see what are the proof. I think some of these fintech now are beginning to implement what we call an improved security, where you have to carry out, when you want to carry out a large transaction, it requires you to show proof of life. There's a pop-up. You have to show that you are the one. You move. They see the movement of your face, the movement of your eyes.
Open your mouth.
Open your mouth. And sometimes some of us look at it and is as though it's embarrassing, right? Especially when you are carrying out this transaction in public places. But it is for your own good. We can implement some of these things just to secure the little funds we have there. Either little or large funds we have there. So that is my opinion about that.
So I'll still, before I let you go, before I'm probably going to Farouk. Now, as a user, what should you be careful about when you're, doing anything online? Whether payment, whether any financial transaction online, what should you be careful about?
Well, the things we should be careful about are so many. And I think as users, this part requires so much, because one thing I've come to observe recently is that most users of these platforms are not even digitally literate. They just learn the basic of how to carry out transfer and all of these things, and they start initiating transfer. So I think one of the things we need to do for users is digital literacy. Digital literacy, we have referred to it as the seed, while cybersecurity is the fruit, right? Because you cannot tell someone about cybersecurity if the person is not digitally literate. You understand? Now, the person needs to be digitally literate. The person needs to be digitally literate just so you can inform them about, because someone that is not digitally literate, how do you start telling the person about multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, password, username, and all of these things? You ensure your password is as uppercase, lowercase, and all of these things. So one of the things we need to do for users is to properly enlighten them, because a user that is enlightened is one user gained. It's one user that will not fall for fraud easily. So some of the things we look at is, by the time you receive calls from certain persons claiming to call you from your bank, you are aware that this person is not calling from your bank. The other day I was coming back from work and I was driving someone down, and this person was receiving a call. Immediately the person said, oh, I received a call, let me send it to you. Immediately I was like, I don't know you, but whichever code you have received, don't send it to anybody. Because they say that person is calling from the bank. So as users, we should be careful. So she was trying to explain that this person is in the created account for her, this, that. I said, no, you don't share a code. Anything called OTP that expires in 5-10 minutes or 3 minutes, you don't share it with anyone. Okay. Better go to the bank, let them do it there, and you carry out this transaction. So users, as users, we need to be aware of certain security measures.
Thank you. I will have to stop you so that Farouk can just give us his closing thought on this, on safeguarding digital payment platforms.
Well, I think he has said a lot. At the heart of it is public enlightenment, and I'm strongly advocating, for the enforcement of anti-money laundering, laws and regulation, and as well as know your customers, also regulations. This will go a long way in ensuring that there is traceability in all the transactions that are made, and it would further mitigate frauds. And also regulators, the issue of capacity has to be there. There should be capable personnel who are well equipped, well trained. There should be all the necessary tools and gadgets that are required should be made available, and as well they should also have the right budget to do the right job. And there should also be, international collaborations with other payment platforms. This will ensure that we are within the global circle as far as, digital payment platforms are concerned.
Thank you very much. Farouk Abdullahi, financial analyst and the chairman, Ultimate Spectrum Limited. Thank you so much.
Thank you
For coming. And also we had Yomo Rotimi Williams, head of cybersecurity, Unicorn Group of Companies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for being part of the program. I'm your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.